All right, today we're going to dive into our most dominant sense, vision. It really feels like we see the world exactly as it is, right? Like we're watching a perfect high definition movie in real time. But the truth is, well, it's a whole lot stranger and honestly much more fascinating. Let's just start with a single kind of mind boggling number. Take a look at this, less than 1/10 trillionth. I mean, what on earth could this ridiculously small fraction possibly represent? Well, it turns out it represents your entire visible reality. No joke, that's it. Of all the light waves zipping around the universe, radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, you name it, our eyes can only pick up this tiny, tiny sliver. We are, for all practical purposes, blind to almost everything. And this really just perfectly sets up the central mystery of our sight.
So that's the big question, isn't it? We're going to go on a journey, starting with a single particle of light and following it all the way to a conscious thought. It's a wild ride that involves physics, biology, and believe me, a whole lot of brain magic.
Okay, so our journey begins with the physical path that light takes. Just think of your eye as the most sophisticated, high-tech camera ever built. It's a piece of biological hardware that's been perfected over millions and millions of years.
So how does this incredible little camera work? It's basically a four-step process. First, light enters through the cornea. That's the eye's clear, protective outer layer. Then, it passes through the pupil, which gets bigger or smaller to control how much light gets in. Next up, the lens focuses that light. And finally, it projects that focused image onto the retina at the very back of the eye. And that lens, it has this incredible superpower called accommodation. It literally changes its shape. It gets flatter to focus on a distant tree, and then it gets rounder and thicker to read the text on your phone. It's this living, breathing autofocus system that works in an instant. It's amazing.
Now we get to the retina, and this, my friends, is where the real magic happens. The retina is this super thin layer of tissue where light, which is a physical thing, a wave, gets transformed into an electrical signal the brain can actually understand. It's a process called transduction, and it's the key to everything.
The retina is pretty much the camera's sensor, or maybe it's film, if you're old school. It's just packed with millions of these specialized cells called photoreceptors that are just waiting for light to hit them and kick off a chemical reaction. And the main characters on this biological film are the rods and the cones. Think of rods as our night vision specialists. They're great in low light, they detect motion, and they see everything in shades of gray. Cones, on the other hand, they're the artists. They need bright light to do their job, but when they work, they paint our world in vibrant color and super sharp detail. This is totally the world of your rods. You're in a dimly lit room, you can't really make out colors or fine details, but your rods are sensitive enough to pick up the general shapes and any movement. They help you get around without bumping into all the furniture. They are absolute masters of the shadows. And this is the world of your cones. A beautiful, vibrant sunset with all those oranges and pinks and purples. It just bursts into life because your cones are firing away, telling the difference between all those wavelengths of light. This is high-definition color vision, right here. Now, for a totally fascinating flaw in the system. There's a spot on your retina where the optic nerve, think of it as the data cable to your brain, actually leaves the eye. And because there are no rods or cones there, you are completely 100% blind in that one little spot. So why don't we see a black hole in our vision? Let's find out. You can do this right now. Go on, close your right eye and hold your left thumb out at arm's length. Stare right at your thumbnail. Now keep looking at your thumb, but slowly move your whole arm to the left. At a certain point, poof, your thumb will just vanish. It's still there, obviously, but its image just fell on your blind spot. Your brain is so clever, it's just filling in the gap with whatever background it expects to see, so you never even notice it's gone. Speaking of what the brain just creates, let's talk about color, because get this. Color doesn't really exist out there in the world. It's an interpretation created completely inside our heads, and there are two main theories that explain how. So the first idea is the trichromatic theory. It says we have 3 different types of cones, and each one is tuned to a primary color. Red, green, or blue. It's kind of like how your computer screen can mix those 3 colors to create millions of different hues. Your brain does the same thing. It blends the signals from these 3 cone types to create every single color you've ever seen. But that's not the whole story. The next level of processing is explained by the opponent process theory. This suggests that after the cones get stimulated, the information gets sorted into opposing pairs, red versus green and blue versus yellow. So when you see red, the red channel fires up, and that actually shuts down the green channel. It's why we can't imagine a reddish green, and it also explains a really cool illusion.
Let's try it. I want you to just stare at the center of the red object on your screen. I'm going to be quiet for about 20 seconds so you can really, really focus. Ready? Okay, now quickly look at a white wall or a blank piece of paper. You should see a ghostly green after image. That's your red channel getting tired out, which lets the opposing green channel fire for a second. How cool is that? You just proved the theory with your own eyes.
Of course, this whole system is incredibly complex, and sometimes it can falter. So let's take a quick look at what happens when different parts of this visual pathway run into some problems. The most common issues are just simple focusing errors. With nearsightedness, the eye focuses light in front of the retina, which makes things far away look blurry. With farsightedness, light gets focused behind the retina, so things close up get blurry. Both of these are usually just caused by the physical shape of the eyeball. Then you have color vision deficiencies, which happen when the cones aren't working quite right. Dichromatism is the most common kind. That's when you only have two types of working cones, which usually leads to trouble telling red and green apart. Much, much rarer is monochromatism, where a person has only one or even zero functioning cone types. They see the world entirely in shades of gray.
But some conditions, man, they're all about the brain's processing. Prosopagnosia, also known as face blindness, is a really profound example. A person's eyes can work perfectly. They see a face with total clarity, but their brain just cannot process that information to recognize who it is. Not even their family members, and sometimes not even their own reflection in a mirror. This quote just captures the reality for someone with prosopagnosia so well. It's not a memory problem. It's a very specific recognition circuit in the brain that's just not connecting. So they have to develop these incredible strategies using other clues like someone's hair or their voice or the way they walk, just to identify the people in their lives.
And this brings us right back to where we started. We just proved that your brain actively invents visual information to fill in your blind spot. It creates a seamless reality where there's actually a hole. So if your brain is willing to literally make things up just to keep your world feeling stable and coherent, what else might it be inventing that you accept without question as objective reality? Something to think about.